Hi, I'm Daphne from Daps Makeup, here to give you the tea on luxury makeup, and today we are going to be talking about the new YSL eyeshadow palette. This is number 125 and this is Valentine's Day palette. Oh, how gorgeous is this? I'm not sure if this is a limited edition palette. It might be, especially given the palette, the packaging, which is a unique packaging. It's called the Valentine's Day palette. So clearly, you know, I'm getting this in January, but this is meant for Valentine's Day. So I don't know, like, past, February, is this still going to be available? That kind of thing. I'm not sure. But look at this packaging. It is gorgeous. This is actually my second eyeshadow palette from YSL. I do have one of the original mini couture eyeshadow palettes from YSL. Now, YSL's eyeshadow palettes, they tend to have a really basic color story, but I have the one and only one that's really a colorful, bold palette. And it is this one, number 900. I think it's pronounced Polymer Skies. Obviously, I love blue, I love green, and I love a smoky eye. So this was like the one, one that I like waited for, because even when they first came out, they came out with the basic colored ones. This one trickled in a little bit later. And even now, I was just looking, in case you're really wanting this specific palette, it looks like it's still available on the YSL website, but if you try to go to like a Nordstrom or Sephora, they don't have this color story. It's all just the basic one. So if you ever wanted to try this one, just an FYI. But obviously I loved it, for me to be willing to buy another one. And, I was always attracted to the original packaging, which is classic, gorgeous. But once I saw this one, oh my God, this ombre cotton candy mermaid effect, gorgeous. Now, in terms of this color story, this is a basic color story. It's warm, a lot of the other palettes, they're very neutral color stories. And what's also beautiful is this has a topper shade, which is very pretty. So I'm in my soft girl era, so I'm okay. I was okay getting this color story, especially for this packaging. I wanted to turn off my ring light because I didn't want the light to be affecting your ability to appreciate the packaging on this. So this is in, color, and here are the shades once again. So I just wanted you to see it without having any artificial light affecting your view. Now, as you can see, I have been using this. Now, I've used this 3 or 4 times at this point, so the embossing is already starting to fade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures, or maybe I'll throw in the clip. If you've seen my shorts, I've already posted what the palette looks like, the swatches. If you've been following me on Instagram, it's on there, and I've already showed you a couple of eye looks on there. So if you aren't following me on Daps_makeup, I would definitely do so. But let me insert some pictures or clips so you can see what this palette looked like when it was still pristine, and just some quick swatches. And then, you know what, I think I'll just straight after that go into the demo video to show you the eye look I did today. So this is in natural lighting. Now I'm also going to just put the ring light back on one more time, just so that sometimes there is an advantage to a ring light, so you can fully appreciate this look. So nice soft makeup look that I did today. I kept it very simple. So check out these pics and demo clips, and then we'll come back and talk, and I'll tell you what I really think about the quality of the palette and just overall thoughts. Hi, so I'm excited to use the new Valentino YSL eyeshadow palette with you on camera. Just know I've actually used this a couple of times already off camera, so this is not my first impression. Which I think it's good that, I have a little bit of experience with this palette already. And if you're curious as well, I've used all three of these mattes in my crease. Because probably, especially if you're my skin tone, you're wondering about this particular matte. I've used it on my crease and on my lid before. I think maybe what I'll try to do in hopes to try to give you the best idea of how these shades work, I'll try to use all three of my crease. I'll start with the lightest, then go here and go here. Obviously it's going to be built upon each other, but I hope it at least gives you kind of an idea how well these shadows show up on my skin tone as transition shades. And I did already put eyeshadow primer, so I'm going to dip into this lightest shade. And honestly, it's gonna basically like set my eyeshadow primer. It's not gonna look like much, but the important question is it ashy or not? I think that's even first and foremost the biggest question. And then you can see how much actual pigmentation shows. So I'm gonna move up closer and we'll do this together. All right, here we go. So, like I said, I just pressed it on and I'm gonna pull back a little bit. You probably really can't see much of a difference from each side. So honestly, in my transition, it really doesn't do much. But what I'll say is at least it doesn't look too ashy. So, but I think if you are my skin tone, this shade is best used on the lid. It doesn't really do much for you in the transition. So let's bring some color, and we're gonna go into the peachy shade. And so obviously now that you could see more on the lid there. So adding that peachy shade, sorry, the lighting is just, okay. Sorry, so adding that peachy shade, I feel like brought some warmth to the look. It's still very soft, but it's brought some warmth. And remember, I also added that upon the tan, the fawn shade. But now let's try to add some depth. This is the deepest shade in the palette. And we're gonna try to go deep into the crease to add some depth. Now I'm using this to add depth to this look, but you, especially if you're my skin tone, could use this all over the crease and it would still totally work. So adding the burgundy shade, you know, added some depth, some smokiness to it. It's still a very soft look, but you know, I think it brought some dimension to the transition shades. So now let's put something on the lid. I have tried both using these in the past, these two shades, and then this is a topper shade. Trying to think which one I should use. I might try to use a little bit of both. Like I said, I want to try to use the shades as much as possible in this one look so you can, you know, get an idea of how it'll work. So maybe this in the inner third and this in the outer third. I don't know how this will work, but let's try. I dipped my brush into the fawn shade. Let's apply the fawn shade. And so, as you can see on the lid, it just pops more. And you can see how this is better used on the lid, I feel, than in the transition. Now I flipped the brush and dipped into the peachy shade. And let's add that to the outer third now. It's gonna be interesting to put them next to each other. I don't know how much of a distinction you'll notice between the two. They're definitely very light shades to put on the lid. Okay, so there it is. Hope you can appreciate that. So I did the peachy on the like kind of outer 2/3 and the more fawn shade in the inner third. Let us now play around with the topper shade. Maybe I'm gonna try to put a little bit in the center, kind of where the transition between the peach and the fawn shade works. And then I'll also add some into my inner corner for some extra sparkle. All right, so I put the topper shade on my brush. I'll first try with a brush. Sometimes, you know, topper shades are better with your fingers, but let's just apply there. And it's subtle, just to add a little bit of sparkle. For fun, I added some more of the topper shade. Let's just kind of extend it into the inner third where the fawn shade is. Like I said, it's very subtle, but it just adds a little sparkle and dimension to the eye look. All right, I've dipped the topper shade into a smaller brush to get into the inner corner. Okay, so you can see the little sparkle that it gives on the inner corner. Right. So I just went off camera quickly, just finished the rest of my makeup, but just kept it very simple. So this is a very soft, simple makeup look. So let me get in closer to the eyes. So soft, pretty eye look. So let's sit down together and let's really talk about these shadows, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this eye look and this eyeshadow palette. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that demo video and found it helpful. So here we are again. So first and foremost, we gotta talk about packaging, right? Because like, what really drew us most into this pack, that's what drew me into it, it's the packaging. This is just so special, and it lives up. It's actually, I think it's actually even more gorgeous in person than actually what I saw posted online. So for packaging wise, A+. It just feel, you know, it has a little bit of cushiness, and the original one does too, you know. There's a little bit of a cushiness to this, but then it's still not flimsy at all. It's just gorgeous packaging. And then the embossing, which is super cute, but you have to recognize that it is not gonna last. I try to do my best to not disturb it too much, but it's just kind of inevitable that the embossing is going to go away. So obviously don't buy it just for the embossing, because that's going to go away, but this packaging will always last. So YSL gets an A+ for packaging. Let's talk about the actual formula and this color story. So the formula is, if you have the original palettes, then you already know. There's really no difference. I feel like it's what you expect from YSL. Now, if you've never tried YSL's eyeshadow palettes in the mini Couture palettes, it is, I think you can appreciate, and you know what, let me just do some live swatching here, but I'm going to start with the fawn shade. And I know especially this shade is very light, especially for my skin tone. These are super soft. Like I don't want this to sound bad, but it is powdery. Sometimes powder, if I say powdery, that has a bad connotation. And I don't necessarily mean it to have a bad connotation, but that's what it feels, very powdery. When you use it, there will be a little bit of kick up. It's not going to go everywhere, so don't worry. It's not going to explode on you, but you're going to get a little bit of kick up. So you got 3 mattes, 3 soft mattes, and then you got a topper shade. Okay, so it blends beautifully. The beautiful thing about this eyeshadow formula, it blends beautifully. It's like so easy to use. So very user friendly. Because of the soft nature of the formula, it gives a very soft look. And especially with this color story. But, I'm going to move in a little bit closer. But you can see it gives you very soft, ethereal, airbrushed kind of look, right? So, you got to be into that vibe. Okay? That's what it's all about. So we have 3 mattes. I tried my best in my denim video. I try to use all the shades and I try to use all 3 in my crease, and then try to use a couple on my 3 on my lid. So I try to use as much as I can so that you could see, particularly if you're my skin tone, how these shades work for you in the crease and on the lid, especially if you're my skin tone. So, obviously the concern for if you're my skin tone is this shade. That was like the one shade that even made me hesitate in making the purchase in the first place, because it is a very light shade. Now, it might look a little bit ashy here, but on my skin tone, I don't feel like it's too ashy. Can't go any lighter than this. This is as light as we can get before, ashiness becomes a real concern. You saw, I was able to use it all over my all over my transition shade. I kind of use it to like set my eyeshadow primer, and it was okay. It didn't look too ashy there. It works, like it works in terms of like not being ashy, but it basically is almost like nothing on my skin tone if you're using it in the transition shade. I'm sure for someone who is fair tone, you know, this is gonna provide will provide them more pigmentation, but for us, it's kind of like doesn't really have much of an impact in the transition. But on the lid is where it works best for us. So you can put it on the lid and then it's gonna pop. So that's the shade there. This shade does work in my transition. It's still on the light side. So you'll still need another shade to go with it to deepen it out. But you can pull this off in the transition and it does work lovely on the lid. So I've done a look where I've done the fawn shade mainly all over the lid the first time I ever used it. The second time I took the peach shade and I put that all over the lid. So both of them work on the lid. And then you have this shade, which I use to deepen out is my, you know, to provide some depth, which it did. But this is also a shade, especially if you're my skin tone, you can just do all over the transition. I've done that where I just did it completely, you know, so this is as deep as it's gonna get, but it's just enough, especially if you're going for a soft look. So they're pretty. And then this is really soft. It's a topper shade. It's very soft. Okay, so you're only gonna get a slight sparkle. It just gives that like, it's a very soft sparkle. So I use it all the time on top of the other shadows, and then I use it alone in my inner corner. If I try to use this by itself without, you know, a base, you know, it's just gonna, you know, like I said, I feel like you still need a, you know, I think it's best if you lay down one of these mattes first and then use it as a topper, because to try to use this on its own, it doesn't have much of a base for it. So that's a look, you know, there's only so much you can do with this palette, but it's pretty, it's nice. So if you're into this soft look, you like, you know, some peachy mauve-y colors, then I think you'll like it. So, you know, these aren't cheap. We're talking about luxury eyeshadow. Is it worth it? If you are a lover of luxury makeup like I do, I think it's worth it in the sense that first and foremost for the packaging. Honestly, hello, we're buying it for the packaging. So this packaging is absolutely gorgeous. So that makes it worth it. And I do actually appreciate the eyeshadows. It's a very soft look, but if you appreciate this color story and you like this soft eyeshadow effect, then I think it's worth it. I think it's actually a nice, cute palette. So I don't regret getting it. So yeah, you know, YSL, this is a great way to start the year. And the blushes, have you heard? The blushes are coming out. I actually just saw, I posted, Sephora is now just starting to post the blushes coming up. I'll try to post a picture. It's not out yet. It's coming out in a week. I was almost tempted to delay this video and do a combined video because I'm going to get those blushes. I'm going to get one or two of those blushes, but I was like, no, we'll make it 2 separate videos. You know, I don't want to overwhelm you with these really long videos. So I'll be back again, maybe another week or 2, but I'm sure I'm going to be back again with another YSL video, and that one will concentrate on the blushes. I'm sure I'll probably have this on my eyes during that video, but the video will be focused on the blushes for that. But until then, you know, I'm just going to wish you guys a great day. If you aren't already subscribed, consider subscribing to my channel. But I just hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.